Okay, Mr. Parton, we're at the 17th of, no, 18th July. And you're probably wondering why I'm still standing here with an unfinished boat. Well, a couple of things. I got waylaid by a few technical issues, and then we got decided about 3 weeks ago that I would sort of take a sabbatical because of some of the problems I've been running into. And then we went on a 1-week cruise up to Alaska. Got back a little while ago, so that's the reason for the delayed response, if you will, if there is such a thing as a reasonable excuse. Anyhow, so give you a little bit of an overview. Quick deal. I'm working on this plank right now, and I don't know if you can see the one down here. This is a raw version of the starboard side of it that hasn't been trimmed or cut yet. But I almost didn't have enough wood to make this thing work the way it is, and I used an 11-inch wide plank in the center and an 11-inch wide plank on the bow, and I had an 8-inch wide plank that I stuck in here, thinking that would be plenty enough, and by all the measurements I had, using the 6-degree angle. The scarf joint is here and here, and there are 6-degree angles on those. And anyhow, I struggled for a long time, and the idea is that I'm right here at the knuckles of the frame. This is the first knuckle coming down off of the, effectively off the bottom of the boat, but not with that frame over there. And so I can't move off of that situation for a while. And then there's going to be a bevel that goes on this surface right here, so that the next plank will just flat lay over the top of this one. And I don't know if I don't have anything to give you an idea, but effectively I got one plank that's going to come down like this, and that's how they're going to match like that. This one's going to have a bevel effectively. And that bevel is going to change. This lap, this bevel in here, in the center of the boat here, it's about 3/4 of an inch wide area that I've got to make the bevel because of the steep angle of it. But when you get out toward the stems, it's 2.5 inches roughly. At the stems, that bevel's got to come down because of the way the angle's changing on the frames. But having said all that, I spent probably, I'm going to guess about 2 weeks after I got the board glued up, getting it in the shape it is now, and fussing with the back bevel on the back side of the board here to match the bevel on this plank. I won't go into all of the details on how I managed to get everything together because it took a lot of weird ingenuity. And every time I put it on here, before I put the back bevel on, just so that I could see where it was going to lay, and then you put the bevel on, you put it down, and it doesn't lay there anymore because it's at a different angle, or a different pitch. And the one thing I'm struggling with right now, and have been since before the cruise, is here, when you push this thing down, just on this one end, and get it clamped into place, and you pull it, it pulls away from the wood here and leaves, initially, up until yesterday, it was like an 1/8 of an inch gap, and I've got it now I took this plank and I put it in a planer and took like a 1/16 of an inch off of it, which is a whole nother story, and it brought it closer, but I'm gonna have to do some more fussing with it. I've got shavings all over the floor where I've been shaving away at the stem to try to get it to lay in flat. The one in the bow is fine. The stern one is the one that's driving me nuts right now. And like I say, I can't move it too much because it's got to stay right even with these knuckles here. And then when I get it to lay down, hopefully in the next few days, I'll be able to then clamp it all down into place, put in my Sikaflex deal, put in all of the rivets and nails, and then do the bevel. And the plank that goes on next, this is the binder plank. I can use a straight piece of 8-inch wide plank on, and the way it's going to curve allows me to get away with not using any scarf joints, or at least that's the theory I've got right now, and that's something yet to behold. But you know, and the nice thing about it is there's only one bevel on the next plank, and it'll be the bevel that accommodates this plank coming up against this next knuckle here. And that one there will become the shear. So that the shear plank has absolutely no lap bevels on it at all. When the pieces come together like so, I'm going to put it like a quarter round on you know, on that edge, just to kind of soften it up. So, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Like I say, I've got the other one, and I know enough. I even took this piece off of here and laid it on. This is again an 11-inch, and an 8-inch wide plank with the scarf joints here and there. And I've laid that plank on here, and I've drawn an outline of it just to make sure I'm at least in reasonable shape for it. I've got, looks like about 3/4 of an inch here of extra, and a little over maybe 1.25 inches here of extra. Here I've got about 3/4 of an inch, and I go down to about 1/2 inch down here, and I'm up about 2 inches from the top there. So I got a lot of room here when it comes down here, but this is something you can't take advantage. You can't take for granted that the other side, the starboard side, is going to be anything like the port side. The way the wood behaves. One of the things that I've noticed, and this is a quality control issue, probably because of my drinking. When I first got these planks done, I bought 20-foot long 2x12s, and I took them to a mill, and I said I want them milled to 1/2 inch thick planks. And so they took one of the 2x12 by 20s, and they resawed it right down the center, and then they ran that surface through a plane, and then they planed the outer surface down to where it was 1/2 inch thick. And I got all of these planks over there delivered, and everything was all fine. And I did a spot check on them, and I measured the thickness, and there was 1/2 inch. I just measured a couple of the boards. Well, that was my problem. I should have measured all of them, because some of them were actually 9/16 thick instead of 1/2. And it may not sound like much, but when you're dealing with the tolerances that are on this boat, you don't have that kind of luxury. And I didn't even notice it until I started putting these planks on, that these are some of the thicker planks that I'm dealing with, and that's been what's given me some of the trouble. I hope all is going well with you over in beautiful downtown Chiang Mai province, but hope you're keeping well stocked on your booze and all that stuff. I am, and I'm leaning more towards the cheaper stuff now because the volume seems to be increasing. So, but I'll keep you posted on how this comes. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll have both these done and be working on the binder planks, and with all the learning curve I'm learning on this one plank is going to help me on that side, and the learning curve on both of these planks and how it lays, how the next one lays on here is going to give me a learning curve that I won't even have to worry about when I come down to the shear. The shear will be unfortunately have to use scarf joints because I won't be able to get an 8-inch wide plank that lays and not curving around. It moves around too much for me to be able to lay a flat 8-inch on there. So I'm going to have to use an 11-inch wide center section and 8-inch wide ends on it. I mean, and then I'm out of wood. I've got stuff over on the shelf there. I've done the beveling for the scarf joints on the on the shear planks area. So I'm all ready for those. I haven't. That work is out of the way, and most of my scarf joint work, I mean, it's just left that I've got left is going to be just the glue ups. Until I get around to doing things like the gunnel, you know, that's going to be oak, and I'm probably going to have to put some scarf joints on that too. But I've had some of my collusion kind of guys from the church guy that have been working with boat building stuff come over, and they think that I'm not losing my mind, and that made me lose my confidence in them. But other than that, I'm going to do some more shaving. I've been, one of my, I bought a bunch of planes and everything like that, but it seems to me, this baby here is spoke shave I keep it really sharpened with my Japanese waterstones and stuff like that. And it's been what I do most of my bevel work with. I do, like when I do the inside bevel on this thing, I take my 4-inch wide power planer that I've got over there and take about 60% of the wood off, and then I take the rest of it off with this. It allows me to keep a flat surface on the bevels. But when I get down to that wide area, I'm not going to be able to cover it with this thing here, so I'm really interested to see how that's going to turn out. All right, kid. You take care of yourself, and we'll give you more of an update later. Bye.